The city looked different from above. Jenna Michaels pressed her forehead to the cool airplane window, watching Los Angeles unfurl below her in a web of flickering lights and shadows. It was just past 9 p.m., and the city pulsed like a slow heartbeat. Beneath the wings, she should have been exhausted after the 2-hour flight and the Uber ride from LAX. But the anticipation simmering in her chest was stronger than any fatigue. She was finally here. At that hotel, she had seen every video, read every blog post, watched every documentary. The Cecil Hotel, now called The Stay, on Main, was famous for reasons it didn't put in its marketing brochures: murders, suicides, disappearances. It had hosted serial killers and accidental deaths and ghosts that supposedly whispered in the vents. And, of course, there was Eliza Lamb. That case was the reason she was here. "Welcome to the Stay on Main," the receptionist said flatly as Jenna approached the check-in desk. The lobby was smaller than she expected, somewhere between minimalist and bare bones. The once grand chandelier above was coated in years of dust, though someone had tried to make it look chic by adding modern furniture. "Checking in," Jenna said, setting down her backpack and pulling out her phone. "Reservation under Jenna Michaels." The man behind the desk, mid-30s, thinning hair, wearing a cheap grey blazer, tapped at his computer with disinterest. "1 room, 2 nights, queen bed, room 412. Here's your key." Jenna reached for the plastic card. "Do you know if that's one of the original rooms from before the remodel?" The man looked up, his face flat. "They're all original if you dig deep enough." Jenna laughed nervously. "Right, no, I mean, like, does it face the water tanks?" The receptionist's eyes narrowed slightly. "That's a weird question. Sorry, I'm a content creator, horror vlogger. I'm doing a piece on urban legends. You know, the elevator game, ghost sightings, Elisa Lam. I'd advise you not to go poking around the upper floors," he said, sliding the key toward her. "They're off limits, and there are cameras everywhere." Jenna smiled and nodded. "Of course. Just a story, thank you." As she turned away, she could feel his eyes linger a second too long. Room 412 was small, but functional. The bed looked clean, at least. The walls were beige with scuffed edges, and the window rattled slightly in its frame. The bathroom tile had a permanent grey tint, like it had seen more than it should have. Jenna set up her phone on the nightstand and tapped record. "Okay, horror fans," she whispered dramatically. "This is Jenna reporting from the infamous Stay on Main, formerly known as Wait for at the Cecil Hotel. You know what that means." She zoomed in on her face, lowering her voice to a theatrical whisper. "Murder, madness, ghosts, and, yes, elevators." She laughed and turned the phone off, satisfied with the intro. She spent the next half hour setting up her small camera rig in the corner. Her vlog was modest, about 30K followers, but loyal. Her series on abandoned asylums had gone mildly viral. This was going to be her big break. The Cecil story had all the ingredients: mystery, death, and an unexplained ending by midnight. She was in bed, watching shaky elevator footage from 2013, the video of Elisa Lam pressing buttons, peeking into the hallway, hiding from something. Unseen, it still unsettled her. Jenna paused the video and looked toward her room's door. It was quiet. She wasn't scared. Not yet, just alert. The next morning was grey and hot. LA was humid in a way that clung to her skin. Jenna grabbed a coffee from a cafe a few blocks away and spent the afternoon walking the surrounding streets, filming cutaways and beer roll. The neighborhood was a strange blend of art studios, boarded up buildings, and lost souls talking to themselves on the sidewalks. Back in the hotel lobby, she found a man staring at the elevator, unmoving. He was older, maybe late 50s, wearing an old army jacket and dark sunglasses. His grey hair was pulled back into a loose ponytail, and his expression was vacant. "Is it broken?" Jenna asked as she approached. The man didn't move at first. Then, slowly, he turned toward her. "Did you hear it last night?" She blinked. "Hear what?" "The elevator, going up, down, over and over. At 3 a.m., no one inside." He looked past her then, as if distracted by something only he could see. "I didn't hear anything," she said softly. "Then you weren't listening." The elevator dinged, and the doors opened. Empty. The man didn't get on. Jenna stepped inside. "Don't go to floor 10, he said as the doors began to close. She tried to ask what he meant, but the elevator swallowed her words. Later that night, Jenna sat cross-legged on the bed, scrolling through Reddit threads about the elevator game. She read the rules again. Enter a building with at least 10 floors. Ride the elevator. Alone, visit floors in this order: 4, 2, 6, 2, 10, 5. When you reach the 5th floor, a woman may enter. Do not speak to her. Do not look at her. If you press the button for the 1st floor and the elevator goes up, instead you've succeeded." She laughed to herself. So dumb. Still, there was something compelling about it. She stood, grabbed her camera, and slid her phone into her back pocket. Time for content. The elevator was colder than before. It was nearly 2 a.m. when she stepped inside. The hallway had been dead silent, too silent, like a stage before the curtain rises. Jenna mounted the GoPro on her chest strap, hit record, and began. "Okay guys, it's time. I'm about to play the elevator game in the same hotel where Elisa Lam was. Last scene, alone. At night." She gave a thumbs up to the lens. "Let's hope I don't vanish, right?" She pressed the button for floor 4. The elevator rumbled upward. Nothing strange yet. She went through the sequence 4, 2, 6, 2 again. "So far, just me and the buzzing lights," she whispered into the mic. She pressed floor 10. The elevator lurched, then stopped. Nothing happened. Okay, a little creepy. She tapped the button again. Still nothing. Then the elevator began to descend slowly, like something dragging it down. "I didn't touch anything," she said, her voice tight. Now the elevator stopped at the lobby. The doors didn't open. What the hell? And then ding, the doors slid open slowly. Empty hallway, dim lighting, absolute silence. Jenna stepped forward and leaned out cautiously. Nothing then. Then, in the corner of her eye movement, something at the far end of the corridor, standing just out of reach of the flickering light. It didn't move. But Jenna's breath caught in her throat. She stepped fully into the hallway and turned to face it, and the elevator doors closed behind her. The doors slammed shut behind her with a metallic finality. Jenna spun around. Wait, no. She rushed back to the elevator and jabbed at the call button. Nothing. The soft amber circle didn't light up. She hit it again and again, the panic rising in her throat. The hallway was unnaturally quiet. The air pressed in like a vacuum, muffling even the sound of her own breath. She turned. The corridor stretched before her, illuminated in sickly yellow light. The shape she thought she'd seen at the far end. Gone. Was it even there? She wasn't sure anymore. Okay, don't panic, she whispered, reaching for her phone. Still recording. Good, she pointed it down the hallway. For anyone watching this later, think I just experienced an elevator malfunction. Probably nothing. It closed on me while I was filming. I'm gonna try the stairs. Jenna looked around. No signage. Odd. Every hotel she'd ever stayed in had those emergency maps by the door. This hallway didn't even have room numbers on some doors, just blank, featureless metal slabs. Others had rusted placards, bent or blackened. Something was wrong with this floor. She passed the first door and tested the handle. Locked. The second had no handle at all. The third, room 543, opened a crack when she touched it. Inside was darkness. No light, no sound. She didn't go in. Okay, that's a hard pass. She kept moving, trying to find a stairwell. After 2 more doors, she reached a corner. A faded red sign above a narrow opening read, "Stair B" in peeling paint. She pushed it open and was immediately struck by a wave of heat and the scent of wet rust. The stairwell was barely lit. A single bulb hung overhead, swaying slightly, casting long shadows across the concrete. She hesitated, then descended. The lobby was empty. Jenna emerged 20 minutes later, damp with sweat, gripping the handrail as if gravity had tripled. She reached the front desk and rang the little silver bell. No one came. She rang again. Hello. A door behind the desk creaked open. The same man from the night before appeared, eyes bloodshot, as if he hadn't slept. What? He asked flatly. The elevator locked me out, Jenna said, trying not to sound crazy. I was stuck on what floor was it, even? It wasn't 10. I don't know where I was. The floor numbers were missing. The doors were sealed. I had to take the stairs all the way down. The man didn't respond for a moment. Then he leaned forward, his voice low. How many floors did you count? She blinked. What? You said you came down the stairs. How many floors did you pass? 14. There are only 12 floors in this building. Jenna stared at him. No. There were 14. No, he said. There are 12. He turned and walked away before she could say anything else. She returned to her room, shaking, locked the door, and sat on the edge of the bed with the lights on. Her phone, vibrated.1, new comment. Did anyone else see something? At the end of the hall behind her, she scrolled up through the feed of her live stream. Her viewers had been active even while she was disconnected. The last few minutes of footage were grainy, likely due to the hotel's Wi-Fi. But there was enough clarity to see movement, right before the elevator doors closed. In the footage, as Jenna turned away to check the hallway, a tall, dark shape moved out from the corner. Slender, shifting. Then the doors closed and she was gone. Maybe a guest, she whispered, another guest. But the shape hadn't walked. It had drifted. The next morning, Jenna woke to a knock at the door. Groggy, she opened it, cracked it. Was the man from the lobby. I saw your video, he said simply. Come downstairs. They sat in the tiny maintenance lounge behind the front desk. The man whose name tag now read Louise handed her a mug of stale coffee and sighed. This hotel's full of things that shouldn't be, he said. Jenna stayed quiet. They call it Stay on Main now, but the name change doesn't clean. The bones, you know. She nodded slowly. You said there were 12 floors. There are, Louise said, on paper, but the elevator, ... Sometimes it thinks there's more. Jenna stared at him. Elevators don't think. Neither do ghosts. But that doesn't stop them. He pulled out an old blueprint, tattered yellowed at the edges. He unfolded it on the table. The hotel's original layout. There was a 13th floor, he said. Removed from the schematics, in the 1980s, after someone, he paused, threw himself from a window. They said the number was unlucky, so they wiped it. He pointed to a faded section between floors 12 and the roof, but the floor is still there, hidden. No buttons to reach it. You need to know the game. Jenna's stomach turned. You think I reached it last night? Luis didn't answer. He just looked at her. I need to see it again, Jenna said. No, Luis replied, firm. You don't. People disappear up there. I've worked here 15 years. I've seen too much. You stay here long enough. The walls breathe. The lights flicker when no one moves. The water tastes like rust. That last part made Jenna freeze. What? The water. Always after someone goes missing. She pulled out her phone, re-watching last night's clip. There just before the doors. Opened, a subtle shift. A shadow behind her. But when she stepped into the hallway, it was gone, like it was inside the elevator. I didn't bring it back with me, she whispered. Luis reached across the table and placed something in her hand. An old brass key. Don't use the elevator. Again, he said. You want to keep filming? Take the stairs. Always. Back in her room, Jenna ran the sink faucet. The water ran brown for the first 2 seconds. Then clear. She backed away, eyes wide. She set her camera up again and hit record. Hey guys, I know some of you saw what happened in last night's live stream. I don't really know how to explain it, but I think I went somewhere I wasn't supposed to. I think there's a floor that doesn't exist on the map. And I think something came back down with me. She paused. Tonight, I'm going back. With protection, she lifted the key into frame. Wish me luck. Jenna paced the room for what felt like an hour. The brass key Luis had given her clenched in her fist. She wasn't sure why she took it so seriously. Maybe it was the way he had looked at her, like someone who had lived with a secret for far too long. Maybe it was the water, thick and tinged with something too old to name. Or maybe it was the footage. She had watched it over and over. Right before the elevator doors closed, a figure, no, a shape was there. It wasn't a trick of the light. It was tall, thin, and it shifted, like it didn't belong in this world's geometry. She zoomed in frame by frame. At the very last second before the doors sealed shut, the shape moved closer toward her. She had never seen it in person, but she had felt it. That pressure in the hallway, the sudden cold on her neck, and now she couldn't shake the feeling that something was still with her, watching, waiting. 10:49 p.m. Her followers were already online. The chat window was lighting up, moving too fast to follow. At creepycrawler27, she's doing it again, oh my god. At shadowwatcher, I saw the thing to frame 257. At dead sleep, this isn't a game. Jenna, stop. At urban house, elevator game, part 2. Let's go. Jenna adjusted the GoPro on her chest, secured her backup camera on her shoulder strap, and dubbed the wireless mic. She walked over to the nightstand and picked up the brass key. All right, horror fam, she whispered into the camera. We're going back. She paused. Her hand trembled slightly. Luis says the elevator sometimes thinks there are more than 12 floors. I think I hit one of them last night. I think I triggered something. Maybe the elevator game isn't just a creepy internet challenge. Maybe it's a ritual. She tucked the key into her pocket. Tonight, I'm going to follow the exact sequence, step by step, and we'll see what happens. The hallway was even quieter than the night before. Lights buzzed faintly overhead, but some were dead entirely, leaving chunks of darkness. Her footsteps echoed muffled by the carpet, but still strangely loud in the emptiness. She passed the old man in the army jacket, Aggie leaning against the wall by the vending machines. "You shouldn't do it twice," he muttered. Jenna stopped. "You saw last night's video?" He turned his head slowly. "That thing, it's older than this building." "What thing?" "You'll see it again. But this time, it'll be closer." She stared at him. He didn't smile, didn't blink. "Why are you still here if you know it's dangerous?" she asked. "I don't leave because I can't. And you came here looking for something you don't understand." Jenna backed away slowly. Hard pounding, the elevator doors waited at the end of the hall. Open, empty dot. Almost like they were inviting her. In step 1, floor 4, the elevator hummed. Upward. Her chat was blowing up. At Crypt Kid 23, floor 4 equals death in Japanese folklore. Careful. At Not Alone 777, don't look outside when you hit. 5, just don't. At Dark Symmetry, she's actually doing this, oh my god, OMG ding. The doors opened, floor 4, dim hallway. Nothing moved. She stayed inside. Step 2, floor 2, the elevator descended. She caught a glimpse of her own reflection in the metal panel. Her face looked pale, eyes wide. Step 3, floor 6, dong-ding. Same silence. She felt something, then a flicker of static behind her eyes. Her scalp tingled. She didn't speak. Step 4, floor 2. Again, the doors opened, and this time she saw a woman at the far end of the hall, dressed in white, hair limp, face pale. Jenna gasped and slammed the door close. Button. The door shut, but not fast enough. The woman turned her head and smiled. Step 5, floor 10. The elevator began to rise. Slower now. Something was wrong. The hum of the machinery had changed deeper, almost growling. Her camera buzzed. Static popped in her mic feed. "Guys," she whispered, "still with me." No response in chat. The elevator stopped, but the doors didn't open. "Okay, I'm at 10. This is where it either ends or..." The elevator lurched and began to descend, but not to the first floor. Step 6, floor 5. She wasn't supposed to speak if the woman entered. The elevator stopped. The doors opened. The hallway was empty. She exhaled. Slowly, then a soft click behind her. The sound of bare feet stepping onto metal. She didn't turn around. The camera shook on her chest. She gripped the brass, key in her pocket, and squeezed. The lights flickered overhead. A breath hot and wet touched the side of her neck. She closed her eyes. "I won't look," she whispered. "I won't look. I won't look." A whisper tickled her ear, a voice not meant for this world. "I've seen you before." The elevator began to rise. Jenna didn't press anything. The display panel blinked. 6, 7, 8. It was going higher than it should. No, this isn't right. 12, 13, 14. The doors opened. The doors opened. Darkness, complete absence of light. An empty void beyond the doors, stretching like a mouth, and yet something was moving in there. She could hear it, breathing, scraping. A shape began to form, slender, crawling, backwards. "Nope," she whispered. No. The elevator started shaking violently. Her cameras glitched. Her phone flickered, the chat vanishing entirely. The lights in the ceiling popped, sending sparks raining down. She pressed every button she could. The elevator groaned. Then it dropped faster. She screamed, bracing against the wall, the lights becoming streaks of color, and then darkness. She woke up on the lobby floor. No cameras, no mic, no bag, just her, shaking, with blood on her palms and the brass key fused with heat. Luis stood over her, face drawn. "I told you not to do it twice," he said. Jenna sat up slowly, dizzy. I was on another floor, not part of the hotel." Luis didn't speak. He handed her phone. One video remained on it. Length 12:06. Title untitled, date unknown. The thumbnail was her face smeared with blood, eyes wide. Behind her, in the frame, stood something tall and faceless. "I didn't see it in real life," she whispered. Luis just nodded. "But it saw you." Luis let Jenna rest in a small maintenance room near the service elevators. The fluorescent lights above buzzed softly. A metal fan pushed hot air across the room, doing nothing for the rising tension in her chest. She held the phone in both hands, staring at the video she didn't remember recording, untitled 12 minutes. The thumbnail was horrifying her own wide-eyed expression, but not the face she remembered making. Her lips were parted like she'd been mid-scream. Her pupils were dilated, the whites of her eyes showing. And behind her was a tall figure, almost humanoid, but not quite. Its limbs were too long, its face a smooth void, not blurred, blank. She didn't press play. Luis stood near the door, arms crossed, watching her. "You were gone 3 hours, he said. Jenna looked up. "No, it felt like minutes." He shook his head. The elevator came down empty. "I checked the footage. Then 3 hours later, boom, you're lying on the floor outside, face covered in blood. No signs of trauma, no wounds, just blood." She was still trembling. "It felt like falling, like forever falling, but I didn't hit the ground. And the air up there, it's wrong, it's thick." Luis hesitated, then pulled a small object from his back pocket. It was a square photograph, old, grainy, faded with time. He handed it to her. A young woman stood in an old hallway, narrow, beige walls, peeling paint. Jenna recognized it instantly. A hallway from the upper floors. Maybe the 13th. Maybe the one that didn't officially exist. "She was the last one before you," Luis said. "This photo was found in a maintenance locker years ago, before I started working here. No name, no check-in record, just gone, like she'd been erased." Jenna flipped the photo over. In smeared ink. Someone had written, "I looked back that night." Jenna didn't sleep. She kept every light in the room on and placed her phone under the pillow, recording just in case. The brass key was on the nightstand, and the old photograph lay beside it, its surface warped from the heat of her hands. At 3:09 a.m., she heard something, not from the hallway, from inside the room, a whisper, faint but clear. "Don't look." Her breath caught. She sat up, heart pounding. She turned slowly. Nothing, just shadows against the wall. But her phone's screen lit up. New video saved. Length 0:46. Timestamp 3:09 a.m. She had done recorded anything. Her hand shook as she opened the file. The video was static at first, just the dark room and flickering light, but halfway through, The camera shifted. Something or someone picked it up. It was now facing her sleeping body. For a few seconds, the frame was still. Then, the shadow of a hand appeared in the top right corner of the screen. Long, slender, not human. And just before the clip ended, a voice barely audible over the static. She looked. The next morning, Jenna met Luis at the back exit of the building. He smoked a cigarette and looked 10 years older than he had the day before. "I can't stay here anymore," she told him. "This place doesn't just show things. It takes things. Time, memory, pieces of you." Luis nodded. Solemnly, "Some people check out before they're gone. Others leave, but something of them stays. And a few," he paused, "a few never leave at all." She stepped closer. "What happened to Eliza Lamb?" Luis looked off toward the alley. His voice dropped to a near whisper. "She played the game." Jenna's chest tightened. "The elevator game." He nodded. "She was different afterward. Guests reported hearing her talking to someone in the hallway, but no one was there. One woman said she saw Eliza sitting in the lobby at 4 a.m., soaked, whispering. Into the darkness. Jenna's throat went dry. "So how did she?" Luis stared at her. "She drowned in the water tank, but the hatch was closed. No way up, no ladder, nothing. It doesn't make sense, because it wasn't meant to." That afternoon, Jenna packed her bags. She decided she'd leave in the morning. A final night. Her vlog community was divided. Some begged her to stop filming. Others demanded more. She posted a short update. "One last video. One more trip up. Then I'm done. Stay tuned." 11:42 p.m. She entered the elevator again. She didn't go live this time. Just recorded this time. She didn't speak at all. She pressed the buttons in the exact sequence. 4 gives to gives, 6 gives to gives 10. Gives 5. The elevator followed the commands faithfully. But on the 5th floor, it opened again. And there she was. The woman in white. Her eyes were wide and glassy. Her mouth smiled too wide for her face. She stepped in, and Jenna didn't look. She stared at the floor, but the woman leaned close. Her voice was different, this time crisp, cold, deliberate. "You brought me back." Jenna trembled. "You filmed me." The elevator began to rise. Past 10, past 12. No numbers now, just blank panels. When the doors opened, the hallway was waiting. She stepped out. The walls were identical to the photo. The paint was flaking, like skin. The lights buzzed like gnats in her ears. She raised her phone, started recording the screen. Glitched immediately. The hallway had no end. It bent left, then right, then left again. Impossible geometry. A low hum filled the air, like breathing, like moaning. She turned the first corner. The walls pulsed. She turned, another footsteps echoed behind her. She didn't turn back. She couldn't. The photograph's message was screaming. In her mind, I looked back. She reached a dead end. The wall ahead was covered in mirrors, old, blackened ones. Her reflection looked wrong. The version of herself staring back was smiling. But she wasn't. The smile widened. A voice behind her whispered, "You see now." She felt breath on her neck. Cold fingers touched her shoulder. She squeezed her eyes shut. "You're one of us now." And the reflection heard double raised a hand and tapped the glass. Once, twice. On the third tap, the mirror shattered and Jenna screamed. She woke up in the stairwell. Clothes damp, heart racing. Luis stood above her, holding a flashlight. "You went back again," he said quietly. I didn't mean to, she said, breathless. I just wanted to finish it. Close the story. Louise crouched beside her, pulling something from her pocket. The phone, still recording. He ended the clip and saved it silently. You can't close this story, he said. It closes you. She stared at him, hollow. But I didn't look back. Louise didn't say anything. He simply turned the screen to face her. The last frame of the video was her turning her head, looking back over her shoulder, and behind her was herself, but grinning when Jenna got back to her room. The mirrors had changed. She knew them well, every angle, every smudge, because she had tested her camera angles the first night. But now, the main mirror by the door seemed deeper. The reflection lagged behind her slightly, just enough to notice when she raised her hand, and when she looked away, and then back, her reflection was already watching her. She threw a towel over it. She didn't sleep. Couldn't Louise had given her a burner phone, no GPS, no apps, no connection. He said and insisted she keep it on her at all times. She wanted to leave the hotel. She tried at noon the next day. She packed her bag, slung her backpack over her shoulder, and headed for the elevator. The lobby was empty. So was the sidewalk outside. She stepped out into the street and felt wrong, like walking into a stage play where the other actors weren't there yet. The traffic noise was gone. No engines, no honks, no distant music. The air was still. She crossed the street, heading toward her waiting Uber. It was parked where she'd requested it. App open, driver ID matching. The man inside turned toward her. His face was blank, not like uninterested, literally blank. No eyes, no nose, just smooth skin stretched like melted wax. She stumbled back, and suddenly she was in the hotel lobby again. Backpack gone, phone gone, elevator dinging softly, double quotes, ... No, she said aloud, backing into the wall. No. I left. I walked out. Louise came around the corner, carrying a mop. He stopped when he saw her. You tried to leave, he said flatly. I did leave, she insisted. No, Louise said. You tried, but it didn't let you. Later that day, Jenna sat in her room, staring at the footage. She had dozens of videos, now some corrupted, others warped, like they'd been filmed underwater. But one from the previous night was clear. It showed her stepping into the mirrored hallway, the lost floor. Her breathing was shallow, ragged. She filmed the end of the corridor, and in the reflection behind her, someone was following. It looked exactly like her. Same hair, same hoodie, same GoPro harness, but the eyes were wrong. Too black, too deep. Like two pits where thought went to die. The fake Jenna grinned. The real one did not. She's in the mirrors. Jenna whispered aloud, then a knock on the door. 3. Slow raps. She froze. Another knock. Louder, her breath hitched. She crept to the peephole. Looked through, no one was there. But her phone buzzed. New video saved, 0:04. Seconds timestamp. Unknown. She hadn't recorded anything. She played the clip. It was the hallway outside her door. The video panned to the left toward the mirror. And in the reflection, Jenna stood there, except she was holding a knife. Louise found her an hour later, shaking and pale in the stairwell again. I don't remember coming out here, she said, curled against the cold metal. Louise knelt beside her. It's taking more of you each time. What is it? She asked. He hesitated. Then, I don't know its name. I don't think it has one, but it's tied to this place. To the elevator, to the water, to the mirrors. She stared at him, tears in her eyes. I don't want to die here. Luis took something out of his coat pocket, a map, old, hand-drawn, showing more floors than any fire marshal's version. There's a room on floor 13, he said. It's where it began. I don't know how to stop it, but if anyone can find, awaits you. Jenna wiped her eyes. Why me? Because you're the first one who's come back this many times. That night, she descended again, but this time not by accident. She used the service elevator one Luis had unlocked with a rusted key. No lights, just buttons marked with tape. She pressed the one labeled 13. It jolted, groaned, started, moving sideways before going up. The ride took 10 minutes, and when it stopped, she was somewhere new. The hallway outside was warped. The walls curved outward slightly, like ribs. The lights flickered blue. She stepped out, camera rolling. This is it, she whispered. The lost floor. Each door was numbered wrong. 13A, 13, B, 13, F. 13G. There was no consistency. Some rooms were open, others appeared half-built, with concrete exposed and wires dangling. As she turned a corner. The mirrors started. Floor -2 ceiling. A hallway of glass. Jenna raised her camera and stepped inside. Each mirror showed a different version of her, some younger, some older, some distorted. One reflection was smiling, blood around its mouth. Another had no eyes. One reached out and tapped the glass from the inside. Jenna screamed and ran. Stumbling through the mirrored maze, she found a door marked 13-Z. It was open, inside. The room was impossible. It was her room. Room 412, but decayed, covered in mold, with blood-stained sheets and claw marks across the floor. She stepped inside. A figure stood at the far end, facing away. Tall, pale, hair over its face. It turned slowly. It was her, but wrong. Her smile was too wide. Her limbs twitched unnaturally. Her eyes were infinite holes. The doppelganger stepped forward. You were never meant to leave. Jenna screamed and ran down the hall, through the mirrored maze, past door after door, until she reached the elevator again. But now, the panel read -1. She didn't press anything. The doors opened. Water poured out, cold, dark, foul-smelling. She stepped back, and the woman in white lunged from inside. Jenna slammed the doors shut. She awoke back in her room, bed soaked, clothes dry, phone beside her still recording. She checked the time, 3:33 a.m. The mirror was uncovered. In it, she saw herself. But for a split second, her reflection did not blink when she did. Tuesday, 9:17 a.m. Detective Marcus Raines had seen a lot in his 18 years on the force. Bodies in dumpsters, husbands with hammers, entire families gone in the blink of an argument. But this place, the Cecilloes, made him feel like the job wasn't policing anymore. It was containment. The call had come in just after 7 a.m. Guest in 412 hasn't checked out. Room reeks. Front desk is freaked out. Standard welfare check. But the moment he stepped into the lobby, the hairs on his neck stood up. The security guard, a skinny kid in a wrinkled grey shirt, wouldn't even go upstairs. I ain't going up there, man, he'd muttered. I watched the feed from last night. She was talking to someone, but no one was there. Raines rode the elevator up to the 4th floor, alone. The hallway felt colder than it should. When he reached room 412, the door was ajar. He knocked. Police. Miss Michaels, you okay? No answer. He nudged the door open with a gloved hand. The room was empty, neatly made bed. Lights still on, but something was off. In the bathroom, he found the mirror shattered. Shards scattered like teeth. No blood, no signs of a struggle. But the bathtub water was black. He leaned closer, sniffed. It smelled like rot, metallic, old, something about it made him back out of the room immediately. In the security office, Rains reviewed the footage from the night before. Timestamp, 2:41 a.m. Jenna Michaels entered the elevator. She faced the panel, pressed a series of buttons, 4, 2, 6, 2, again, 10, 5. She stood still for nearly 2 minutes. At 2:44 a.m., she stepped off the elevator onto a floor that didn't exist. That's what the guard had said. No, seriously, the kid muttered. Look at the camera feed, ID floor 13. It flashes for a split second. Rains rewound the footage. Sure enough, the feed stuttered. Floor 13 flashed on screen before cutting to static. We don't have a floor 13. He said aloud, that's what we all say. The guard replied grimly. At 5:46 a.m., the elevator came back down, empty. But moments later, room 412's door opened. By itself, then closed. Wednesday, 10:03 a.m. Jenna's face was now all over the news. Missing LA vlogger vanishes in notorious Cecil Hotel. Police baffled by disappearance at former crime landmark elevator Hitoire. Urban legend or something darker. Her final YouTube upload had auto-published, scheduled days in advance. Title, She's Not Me. Length, 6:06 posted. 9 o'clock a.m. IT had over 1.2 million views by noon. In the video, Jenna was walking through the mirrored hallway on the lost floor. Her breath fogged the lens. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I think I made a mistake. I think I filmed something I wasn't supposed to. I think it made a copy of me. She turned to face the camera. Her nose was bleeding. If this uploads, I didn't make it out. But something that looks like me did. Don't trust her. Don't. Let her in. The screen, glitch, in the final second of the video. A second Jenna stepped into frame behind her. Then it cut to black. Thursday, 3 p.m. Interview room, B. LAPD Detective Rains sat across from Louise. The hotel employee looked tired, haunted. She stayed in room 412, Rains said. You were the last to see her. Louise nodded. She said she was filming something, he muttered. I tried to warn her. About what? Louise didn't answer right away. Then, there are floors you're not supposed to go to. Rooms that echo even when they're empty. Rains frowned. You're not making sense. Louise leaned forward. You know why the water's always foul when someone disappears? Because it remembers. It's the only thing that can hold what this place does to people. Hold what? Their residue, their fear, their last breath. Rains stood up. Interview over Friday, 1:17, the building across the street. A resident named Molly Keynes was up late watching videos on her laptop. A new suggestion appeared on YouTube. Jenna Michaels' unlisted footage, uploaded 14 minutes ago. She clicked. It wasn't hosted on Jenna's official channel. It was grainy, filmed from a different angle, as if from inside the mirror. Jenna stood in the hallway, filming herself, but in this version, she turned to the mirror and smiled, then raised a hand and waved, and the reflection waved back slightly out of sync. Molly slammed the laptop shut, but when she looked up, Jenna was standing outside her window, smiling. Saturday, 4:03 a.m., Cecil. Hotel rooftop 8 guest in room 507 reported seeing a naked woman standing on the roof. By the time police arrived, there was nothing there, except the maintenance hatch leading to the water tank was wide open, and something wet was dragging a trail across the concrete. They searched the tank. It was empty, but the water level was rising despite the valve being sealed inside, floating near. The bottom was a GoPro. It still worked. The footage was short. Jenna's face, wide-eyed, staring up at the lens. Then a single whisper. She got out, but I'm still here. Saturday, 4:26 a.m., Cecil Hotel maintenance roof. Access the water, sloshed. Gently, but the tank was sealed. Detective Rains stared down at the murky black pool. A flashlight beam cut through the water, but it barely reached the bottom. The thing that unsettled him most wasn't the tank, or the strange GoPro they'd recovered. It was how quiet everything had become. Even the night air above Skid Row, normally buzzing with sirens and voices, was completely still. Sergeant Torres emerged from the stairwell, breath visible in the cold. No sign of anyone on the roof, she said. Camera feeds glitched out around 3:58. Same as last time. Last time, Elisa Lam. Rains looked back at the tank. You're telling me this is happening again? Torres said nothing. Back in the station, Rains watched the GoPro footage 5 times. Each time, he felt a little less sane. The clip was 2 minutes, 14 seconds long. It opened with darkness, then water, gurgling. The camera bobbed once, then panned upward. Jenna, she floated just below the surface, eyes open, unmoving. Her mouth twitched, then opened. She didn't breathe. She spoke, not in English, not in any recognizable language, a tongue that sounded like rust. Then she mouthed something clearer. There is no door. The screen glitched, and in the last frame a hand reached up from below, grabbed her ankle, and dragged her down. The screen cut to black, and just before it ended, there was a second voice. One stayed, one got out. Sunday to 8 a.m. live stream, Jenna Returns channel. Not Jenna Salsas tuned in at first. It was just static. Then Jenna's face, pale, wet hair stuck to her cheeks. She stood. In the Cecil's lobby, alone, she waved. The chat exploded. Is this pre-recorded? She's back. Her eyes look wrong. She blinked out of sync. WTHV. Camera followed her into the elevator. No buttons, no display. The doors closed. Darkness, darkness. The video cut out. Sunday, 11:17 a.m. Detective Rain's apartment. He watched the footage again, frame by frame. Then, unable to help himself, he opened the original case file from 2013. Elisa Lam. Same hotel, same elevator, same death, except ... There was a second woman in the corner of a still from the lobby camera. A figure that no one had ever noticed. Faint, fuzzy, and she looked just like Jenna. He printed both photos, one of Jenna's livestream freeze frame, one from Elisa's final known movement, held them side by side. Same expression, same frame, same frame, same woman. 12 years apart. What the hell is going on in that building? He whispered. Monday, 3:03 a.m. Rooftop return. Rains broke. Protocol. He returned to the Cecil Hotel alone. He wore body cam gear and carried a backup recording device. As he passed the 4th floor landing, the lights overhead flickered. once, then stayed dim. He ignored it, climbed higher. His radio crackled with white noise the closer he got to the roof. He opened the hatch. The tank was there, but now, open, a slow trail of water led across the rooftop, down the side of the building, into one of the fire escapes. He followed it, floor after floor. It led him to level 13, which didn't exist, but he stepped off the stairs, and the door was just there, unlabeled. He turned the handle. The hallway inside was not made of concrete. It breathed. The walls pulsed with damp, mottled flesh. The air was thick with humidity and the scent of mildew and blood. Mirrors lined the corridor, but none showed him. Instead, each reflection was someone else who'd stayed in the hotel. Elisa, Jenna, others. Some crying, some smiling, all watching. He stepped carefully, filming everything. His boots sloshed in a shallow stream of dark water now coating the floor. Then he reached a door, 13-C, just like Jenna described. He opened it. Inside, a replica of Jenna's room, except rotting. Every surface was covered in algae, rust, or mold. The bed was soaked. The mirror cracked. In the center of the floor stood a well, ancient-looking, stone-lined, filled with black water. From it came a voice. "I never left." Rains stepped closer. "She walked out, wearing my face." A hand burst from the water, grabbed his wrist, and pulled. He fell forward just as the body cam cut out. Monday 6 a.m. news report. Detective missing after unauthorized search. The headlines rolled in. Veteran LAPD officer vanishes inside Cecil Hotel. Was he investigating the disappearance of Jenna Michaels? Hotel denies access to floor 13. Claims it does not exist a week later. A photo surfaced online. A still frame, poor quality. It showed Detective Rains walking out of the hotel's main entrance, alone, but the person behind the front desk swore no one had come or gone at that time. Worsen the reflection of the hotel's glass door. He wasn't there. Tuesday, 12:06 a.m. Jenna Michaels' YouTube channel updated automatically. A new video appeared. Title: The Woman in White. 0 views length. 0 o'clock users swarmed the page. Thousands hit play. The video began with a still image Jenna in her old hoodie, standing in a long hallway, her head tilted just slightly. Behind her, a tall, pale figure in a tattered white dress. Then, without warning, the video began to play, but there was no audio, just Jenna walking, breathing hard, glancing over her shoulder every few steps. Her eyes were wide, her pupils dilated. She looked lost. The figure followed at a fixed distance, never running, never rushing, just ... following frame by frame. Closer, in the final second of the video, the screen went black. A whisper emerged, like breath against a cold window. "I wore your skin." Tuesday, 2:14 a.m., Cecil Hotel laundry, basement. Eloise stood in the humid dark, flashlights sweeping across decades of forgotten furniture and mildewed laundry carts. He could feel her. Not Jenna. Her. The woman in white, he remembered. The first time he saw her, 7 years ago, just after his first week on night shift. A guest on the 5th floor called to say someone was wandering the hallway, humming. When he got there, the hallway was empty, except for the singing. Not a melody, just 3 notes. Low, slow, repeating endlessly, like a song no one was supposed to hear. He never saw her clearly, not then, but now. Now she was everywhere, behind mirrors, in reflections, on the security feeds, and in the basement. She waited. He found her standing in front of the boiler room door, face turned to the wall, white. Dress soaked and yellowing with age. Her arms hung limp at her sides. Her bare feet stood in an inch of black water. Luis raised his flashlight. "You don't belong here," he said aloud. Her head turned too far, the bones of her neck popping one by one. She didn't speak. She smiled. The flashlight died instantly into the dark. Her whispered everywhere at once. "I never left the water." Luis ran. Wednesday, 4:46 a.m. mirror footage. Room 412 in a frame captured by a hacked security feed. Jenna stood before the bathroom mirror, unmoving. The lights above her flickered. Her reflection grinned while she did not, and slowly, Jenna raised her hand and placed it against the glass. But the reflection didn't match her. It raised the opposite hand. The two palms pressed. Together, a ripple moved through the mirror, and in the next instant they switched. Now the smiling Jenna stood in the room, and the real one was trapped inside the mirror. Thursday, 1:13 p.m. Urban Explorer forum post. Cecil's hidden room found. A user posted a video of their unauthorized climb through the hotel's decrepit top floor. They found a sealed door beneath the water tower. Room G. The video showed them using bolt cutters to pry it open inside. Walls soaked with algae, a bathtub filled with black water, and on the wall, written in warped red letters, "She is the flood." In the mirror above the sink, there was no reflection, just darkness and something moving within it. Friday, 3 a.m. apartment of Molly Keynes, survivor she, hadn't slept in 3 days. Every mirror in her house was covered. She'd unplugged. Her router shut off every smart device and sealed her door with salt. But she still saw Jenna. Every time she blinked, every puddle, every reflection in her phone screen. Her eyes in the microwave door. "You let her in," Jenna had whispered in that first dream. "Now I'm part of your world." Molly opened her laptop offline mode only. A video played automatically. Not one she downloaded, just appeared. It was a live feed from her own hallway, and standing at the far end motionless was the woman in white. Friday, 6:06 a.m. rooftop. Drainage report. Water systems malfunction. The tanks began overflowing. No explanation, no rain, just a steady rise in water level. Surveillance footage showed no one accessing the maintenance area. Yet still, the tanks remained full, not draining, not leaking, just filled with black water. Technicians who arrived to inspect it refused to go near. One reported voices whispering beneath the surface. Another said his face disappeared from the reflection on his watch. Friday, 11:59 p.m. The lobby security feed. Final recording in the grainy black and white footage. Jenna walked through the lobby. She wore a white dress, soaked, no shoes, soaked, no shoes, as she passed the mirror near the reception desk. Her reflection stopped walking, stood still, and smiled at the camera. Her eyes were completely black. The reflection opened its mouth and screamed, but no sound played. Then the lights flickered and the footage ended. Saturday, 3:33 a.m. The Cecil Hotel boiler room. The walls were sweating. Not condensation, actual moisture oozing like the lungs of a living thing. Pipes hissed overhead. The hum of old machines vibrated like the distant sound of chanting. Louis stood in the dark, alone, no flashlight, no phone, just a half-broken crowbar and the resolve of a man with nothing left to lose. He followed the trail of water dash again. This time, it ran up the wall. He climbed the service ladder to the upper duct vents, crawling until the air turned cold and metallic, and then he heard it. "Help me," Jenna's voice. But behind the voice was something else. Something that mimicked pain but didn't understand it. He emerged into a sealed hallway, lit by flickering emergency lights. The walls covered in moldy wallpaper and handwritten messages in rusty streaks. "Don't trust her smile, look away before she does." I saw myself die-hard at the end of the corridor, a mirror, framed in tarnished brass, standing 7 feet tall, covered in faint fingerprints, and in its reflection, Jenna. She stood still, eyes vacant, lips trembling. Louise stepped forward. "Jenna," he whispered. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Then, behind her reflection, the woman in white appeared, smiling, always smiling. Her hands reached toward. Jenna's shoulders screamed and swung the crowbar. Shattered glass exploded outward, cutting his arms and face, and Jenna fell through, onto the floor, gasping, soaked, shaking. Real.alive, Saturday, 6:06 a.m. News brief. Second survivor, found in historic Cecil Hotel, a woman. Missing for nearly 10 days, was found unconscious in a sealed maintenance corridor beneath the old water tower. LAPD officials are calling it a miraculous recovery, though questions remain unanswered. No surveillance footage shows her entering or exiting the area. Paramedics described her as confused, dehydrated, and suffering from severe exposure. Her first words were, "Don't let her see me." Saturday, 2:09 a.m., Jenna's hospital room-wise sat by the window, arms bandaged, eyes sunken. Jenna was pale, weak, but aware. "I was in a copy," she whispered, "like a paper version of the hotel. But wrong. No sounds, no time, just her." Louise nodded, listening. "She fed off me, my memories, my image. She's done it before. I saw them, all of them. Eliza, the others, trapped in water, in glass, in reflections." Louise swallowed. "But you got out." Jenna's face went blank. "No," she said. "She let me out." Saturday, 11:59 p.m., hotel surveillance feed recovered later. The Cecil's lobby was empty. At the far end of the hall, the elevator dinged. The doors opened. From inside stepped a woman. Soaked dress, no shoes, long, black hair covering her face. The woman in white. She walked slowly toward the lobby doors, stopped by the glass, stared at her reflection, then smiled, and walked into the night. 1 week later, across the city, a man in a convenience store watches himself blink late in the security mirror. A child sees a smiling woman in the bath behind him, but no one is there when he turns. A viral TikTok shows a reflection stepping out of sink, and then the creator vanishes in the water of an apartment complex tank. Black strands of hair are found. The water is foul again. She has left the Cecil. She is everywhere. Jenna Michaels. Final post-blog entry archived. They'll tell you it was trauma, hallucinations, carbon monoxide poisoning, a gas leak, stress. They'll tell you the Cecil is just an old building with too many tragedies. Coincidence? But I saw her. I saw what she really is. She's not a ghost, not a person, not even a curse. She's a reflection with hunger, a memory with teeth. She's in the mirror behind you right now. Don't look, and if she smiles, it's already too late.